Why is everybody obsessed with van life? Let's explore this subject. You scared me.
You want me to take her now? Or
I'm going with you in there.
Huh?
I'm going to go with you.
Oh, okay.
Banana chip. One reason is van life is a different, unique, unorthodox way to live your life. In this era anyways. I mean, if you consider throughout history, there have been nomads, gypsies, people who have traveled around. I mean, Abraham in the Bible, he was a nomad, right? I mean, he did a lot of traveling, him and Sarah, right? Yes. So in our era, it's different, but this has been going on for eons. But in this day and age, it's a little different, isn't it? I mean, living in a vehicle, it's unique. A lot of you have actually sold your homes. You did it on purpose. You sold your homes. You said, that's the life for me. I want to do this. What I'm doing right now is just kind of organize. I'm going to take a little trip. Paul and I are going to take a little trip this afternoon. So I want to make sure that everything is organized up. You know, it is Saturday today. I remember living in a house. I used to on Saturday clean my house. A lot of people did on a Saturday. It's the same thing. I'm kind of straightening up. This is my home. It is different, it is unique, and it is unorthodox. It's actually starting to become a little orthodox at this point, but it's a fun life. Yeah. And that's why I think so many people are drawn to it. It's different. Some of you want things that are different. Some of you want to live an unorthodox life. Like me, I never wanted to do what other people did. I didn't want to be a follower. I was more of a leader in my life. Van life evokes freedom. I mean, it just spells freedom. Freedom, yes, like the song, Richie Havens. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. You know? Remember that? If you're too young for that, watch the Woodstock documentary. Yeah. I will tell just briefly, side note, Richie Havens, I always remember watching him. He had so much sweat. I mean, he was wet. He was sweating. I thought, why does he sweat so much? The truth is that during Woodstock, he wasn't supposed to be the first one who performed, but he was, in fact, the first. What happened was there were so many cars coming in that the other musicians couldn't get in. This was before they started doing the helicopter drops. You know, they didn't drop them. That would be sad, but they brought them in, right? They delivered them. The helicopters delivered them. But when he sang for 3 hours, oh my gosh. And that freedom song, Freedom, he made that up right there. It was an improv. He made that up right there. So bravo to Richie Havens. Yeah. So yeah, the van life evokes a lot of freedom. As long as you have the gasoline, you can move around a lot. Now, Paul and I don't move around so much anymore. He's been a van dweller for about 2.5 years now, almost 3. And I have been 6. So when you first become a nomad, oh my gosh, you're just driving everywhere. But so in my experience, after a while, I'm kind of tired of driving so much. I just am. I love living in my small space, and I still have the freedom to move around, but I move around in a smaller area, like in a town, in a city. And of course, when I'm boondocking, I don't move around at all, except to go into town to pick up something.
Hi, everybody.
Yes. So, yeah. Do you feel the need to move around a lot?
No, not really. Last summer, I kind of, what would you say, got it out of my system or something. I went up to Utah and went through each of the 5, they call them the Mighty 5 national parks. Zion, all of those 5. Anyway, and I went all the way over into Colorado. Went to Durango and Colorado Springs and just saw everything I could. Whereas this summer, at least so far, I'm good. We're doing short little trips, seeing the beauty that there is to be seen around here, and that's good for me.
And look at that. We're just at a park. Flagstaff is literally set inside of a forest. So I feel like a little hobbit living in a forest when I'm up here. Yeah. So any words about the freedom of it? Do you feel the freedom?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've stayed in 3 different places here in Flagstaff, and I'm not sure which one is our favorite yet, but where do you want to sleep tonight? Where do you want to do? And we've got the freedom to do it. So it's beautiful. It's fantastic, and I'm loving it.
Freedom. Gotta love the freedom. Well, we're Americans, of course. We've been brought up with freedom. We enjoy freedom, and we're willing to fight for freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom. You know, the other day, Paul and I were driving down the highway, and we had to stop for these 3 deer going across. We were really worried about the deer because van lifers have lots of tales to tell. And Paul's going to tell one of his, but he's got 1 billion of them.
1 billion of them.
A billion, yeah.
Well, last summer, was it last or 2 summers ago? 2 summers ago, wasn't it? In Santa Cruz?
Yes.
Well, I love everything on the water. I love the ocean. I love lakes, being from Michigan. And 2 summers ago, I found out there was a whale watching tour in Santa Cruz, out of Santa Cruz. And so we did that. And I absolutely loved it. We had a little trouble with Lee that I won't go into. She found out that she's a little bit susceptible to seasickness, but that's another story. And but it was fantastic. I mean, right out of the harbor there in Santa Cruz, spent, I don't know, 6 hours maybe. What's Abby doing? There she is. She got a pal. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed that. 6 hours out on the ocean, and saw lots of whales. Saw a few of them breach right out of the water completely. I mean, what an adventure that was. I'm just sorry that Lee didn't see most of it. It was unfortunate.
I can hear people in the background as my head is down like I'm going to die. I mean, ooh, ooh. And I knew there were whales going on. I'm like, just get me back to shore quickly. But see, the beauty of it is you could go on a vacation. Oh, let's go to Santa Cruz, everybody. And then we'll go whale watching. But the point of this is we didn't have to get on a plane in a couple days and then fly back or anything. Our homes were there in the parking lot waiting for us.
Yep.
And we could just go. Of course, on that particular one, I went in my van, went and parked somewhere, put all the shading up and went to bed for, I think, 2 days. I was so sick. But these are just one of 1 billion little tales that we get to tell.
What was that TV show? There are 1 million stories in the Naked City. This was just one of them,
right?
So to speak. So,
mine was one of mine, just personal ones, was that duck. I know you all know that duck. Every morning when I went to the park, and I'm a nomad, and I would go to the park because, you can't just sit in your van, right? And this duck.
What was his name?
Well, I called him the bouncer. I called him the gang of 4. There were 2 geese, I think 2 geese, another geese that had a broken feather. It was really sad, but she got around pretty good. And then there was this duck. And they always together. When I would walk in the morning, well, I'll show you. That duck would come running up to me. Of course, then the gang of three would come up. But that duck was the bouncer of the group. He was like, "Oh, I'll protect you." So, yeah, I mean, it's just those little things like that that really make van life just interesting and probably makes you become, if you're not doing it, obsessed. You're obsessed with it. There are people obsessed with this van life, aren't they?
Don't be jealous. You can do it yourself if you like. Just fix your van up however you want it and go. Go whatever draws you to interesting things and adventure of some kind. It's really wonderful. It really is. Hey kids, guess what? We're going on a road trip.
All right.
Oh yeah, that is so cool. Fantastic.
People get excited at the thought of going on a road trip. I think it's from childhood, isn't it?
I do. I know it.
And so you're watching the nomad channels, and if you're a nomad, you got to admit, when you're getting a road trip together like we are today, when you're getting something together, especially maybe a long one, well, it can evoke a little bit of anxiety, but basically it's excitement. Yeah. So when you were a child, what did you do?
Well, we went on a lot of trips to Grandma's house down in Indiana. And, you know, just like you see today, we pulled off at a roadside table. And one memory that I have that actually I carry with me on my right arm, we stopped for lunch one day when there were some, I don't remember for sure if it was horses or cows, but I went over to the fence, which happened to be barbed wire, of course, and I was trying to pet one of the animals on the nose. And of course, I had my arm through there and it moved its head really quickly. All of a sudden, and I moved my arm back. Well, I've got a scar that goes from here to here.
Wow, yeah, you do.
Mom and Dad were not pleased with me, and I wasn't pleased with it either, but it's just, and it was always exciting to say, hey, we're going to Grandma's house, and it was cool. What about you?
Well, when we were young, we went to Pennsylvania a lot. My dad's family was from originally Pennsylvania area, and we would go to Lancaster, which is like Amish country, but we would leave early in the morning. And what it does is just like when you see like, oh, being a nomad, going on a road trip, it's exciting because it goes back to those childhood memories. And I remember it'd be like 3 in the morning because my dad wanted to get going early. Oh, they'd wake us up, and of course we'd be sleeping in the car. We'd all be leaning against each other's shoulder, you know. And then when they would wake us up when we started going to the tunnels in Pennsylvania, the big mountains, and they would just cut tunnels through them.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's exciting, and I know you all have, what memories do you have? Leave in the comments if there's a really strong, happy memory of going on a road trip. It just evokes that, and I think that's one of the reasons that people are obsessed with this lifestyle. Yeah. Although we don't always do road trips, but we do them. Not just as often as we used to, so there you go.
But it's just a lot of fun to anticipate. You know, we're doing a couple-hour trip this afternoon. It's not a huge deal, but still, anticipating that it's cool. At least for me and for Lee. Yeah. It's exciting, and you can't wait to get started. And you want.
And Eddie's excited too.
You want to keep the dog quiet and not have the dog kick the tripod over. Okay, that'll be enough.
Another reason that people are obsessed with van life, when they see it and they hear about it and they watch videos about it, and a lot of people are obsessed with it, is because they're bored in their homes. Oh, I'm so bored. They're just bored. I mean, it can be so boring. Now, I talked about just recently on one of the videos about being in better shape, being a nomad. Well, that's because people are getting up and getting out and doing things. They're not bored anymore. Living in a home can be boring, and a lot of you said that you were not that active. You had put on weight living in a house, and as soon as you got into a van, you'd lost some weight. So I think that's another reason why people would be obsessed with it. You're seeing people in videos doing these things, doing these activities, and you know, a lot of us are in shape. Some better than others, but we're in shape and we're having a good time out here. It's not so boring. I'll tell you what's boring is living in a house, looking out the same windows, seeing the same tree out there, seeing the same scenery. Maybe not for everybody, but I know that you're thinking, and some of you are thinking in your mind, well, I love seeing my tree out there. It's got a little bird feeder. I get to watch the birds. Oh yeah, that's a lot of fun. You get to see it's familiarity, which is something that, you know, can be missed out here in the van world. But for the most part, there are some people that are just obsessed with it because they're bored living in their house. I suspect that a lot of you don't really want to become nomads. You have no intentions of being a nomad, but you see our videos and you want to live vicariously through us. And you imagine that you're having these adventures too, and I just think that is so cool. And I really appreciate you wanting to watch my channel and spend time with me and looking at where we go and what we're doing. I mean, even sometimes just sitting in my van. But I'm talking about things that seem to interest you, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody is going to become a nomad, and not everybody is going to want to live in a vehicle. You've got your homes, and that's what you want to do. So I just hope you appreciated this video, and it brought to mind of what our lives are like and how we do things. So thank you so much. I love you guys. So please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and go to minivanlee.com for neck gaiters, and you can give me a gift, or you can get some videos of exercises that I do. I put them together just for you. I suspect a lot of us are the same age. These are exercises that most of us can do. So until tomorrow, everybody. Bye. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. You know, the other day, Paul and I were driving down the highway, and we had to stop for these 3 deer going across. We were really worried about the deer because
Hey kids, guess what? We're going on a road trip.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, that is so cool.
Oh, I can't
Fantastic.